I should be crying. I should be this. I'm not a great actress, but this would be happening if I were a great actress.
Let's see. That's good.
Oh, the quiver. The little, yeah.
Is it quivering?
That's, I tell you what, that would have, we should have had you on the show. That would have been our Emmy.
And then I would have had like one tear like Denzel in
Can't
Glory rolling down my face.
You know about the OPT, so we called that the one perfect tear.
I know there were so many tears on that final day on set. Who cried more?
I always cry more. I'm a weepy baby. Just knowing that the show was over, so it was literally everybody had a last scene, whether they were alive or dead or whatever. So it was this person's last scene. It was that person's last scene. It was our last day on this set or this location. And so I certainly was pretty emotional leading up to a reboot of Walker, Texas Ranger, just calling it Walker. And so I'll be working at home in Austin, which would be amazing. And I'm really excited about the storylines and kind of what we're dealing with. So that's what's on store for me and Ackles as well.
Yeah, I couldn't get away from a Kripke show. So I begged him, called him and begged him and pleaded and said, hey, listen, you kind of, he kind of skimped out on me in this last project. It only went 15 years. So I'm going to go ahead and need to keep going on your new project, and we'll see if we can meet.
Yeah, I think everybody, I feel like there might've been people crying who weren't even on set. As a matter of fact, I've heard there were people crying who weren't even on set. Yeah, we have a bunch of text threads with a lot of the gang that's been on the show in the past that we still see at the convention circuit. And, some of these text threads have 20 or 30 people in them just that we've met over the last 15 years. And so people would be like, I know what today is. I'm crying. I'm not even there. I'm in a different country and I'm crying. So it was pretty emotional.
Yeah, I can imagine. When you think of your life, Jensen, 15 years ago, your first day walking onto that set, you probably didn't know anybody. What would you say to that kid knowing what you know now? Like, what advice would you give to yourself 15 years ago?
Probably make yourself at home, because you're going to be here for a while. Mm-hmm. Maybe buy a home. That would have been probably some advice.
Okay, same question for you, Jared. What advice would you give to yourself? I mean, this is before you met your wife, before you guys had your kids. I mean, this is a different you 15 years ago.
I think what I would probably tell myself is to buckle down. I think in the beginning years, a lot of me thought I was putting my life on hold to do this show, and somewhere a little bit too late, probably around like season 9 or 10, I realized that, hey, this is my life and this is really wonderful.
How about we play a little Halloween fun here with the two of you? Who is most likely to eat all of their kids' Halloween candy?
100%. Oh, guilty. I'm a candy fanatic, and everybody teases me because I'm a grown man, but for whatever reason, I just love me some candy.
Diving into the Halloween candy. Okay, who is most likely to be scared in a haunted house, like legitimately terrified?
I actually really like and enjoy haunted houses. And I think he and I are both very desensitized to scares, simply because especially now after 15 years of like dealing with it. But for me, like when I go to a haunted house and there's a really good scare, I chuckle. And I'm like, oh, that was a good one.
My heart's beating. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, finally, who's most likely to turn the porch light out and tell the kids to stop trick-or-treating by 8 p.m.?
I'm going to go me because I'm old and I want to go sleep.
I'll agree with that. I'm funny. I do enjoy the trick-or-treating part of Halloween, but I've always been a bit of not as a child, but I've sort of been a bit of a Halloween grumpus as an adult. And I'm like, I wear somebody else's costume every single day. Like, I don't want to wear a costume when I'm home. So don't make me wear a costume. And living in Austin, sometimes it's still 90 degrees on October 13th.
Oh, buddy, just wait till that 3-year-old asks you to dress up like a princess unicorn. You're going to do it.
I'm going to Amazon the outfit now. Princess unicorn.
There you go. Just save yourself the time. Yeah.
Jared,
so you guys just finished wrapping up last week. Can you tell me, what were those last few days like on set? And what were some of the emotions going through you guys' heads?
The last day on set, the last week, let's start with the last episode. All of the emotions. Every day I read the script before I go to work. I get on the treadmill and just read the script, and it's just the way I kind of wake up and remind myself what I'm doing. And not just the content of the pages, but also just the knowledge that it was going to be the last episode of the series was pretty emotional. So I think I had kind of gone through the gamut of emotions in the 5.5 COVID month quarantine prior to it. And so that last week, I feel like I was able to kind of focus on what Sam was going through and not have Jared's like over emotional bleed in too much. And then the last day was certainly emotional, but I was sort of overwhelmed with happiness, like with kind of just a feeling of completion or of finality or something. And so I just remember wanting to smile a lot. Even though I was saying goodbye to people, I was like, man, like we all did it. You know, you're looking around, I'm looking at Ackles especially going like, dude, you know, you and I have been here since day one, way back in February of 05. We did it, man. And then even looking at the crew around us and thinking the same thing, like what all these people have been through in the last however long they've been with us, some for 15 years. What we'd all been through, I was really proud of us. You know, I really, like one of the first times I've ever been able to go like, hey, I'm really proud of us and I'm really proud of me, like for not the way it looked on camera or on the TV screen, but just because I know what went in, you know, after they called cut and before they called action. So yeah, it was pretty nice actually.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jared. I'd say that, you know, 15 years ago, he and I got onto a roller coaster together, and we didn't separate for 15 years, and so it was no different. That final week of filming, that he and I were going through the same emotions, feeling the same feels, you know, having those same moments, and it was a beautiful ride. It really was. And it was, you know, couldn't have asked for a better partner.
So I know that you guys have mentioned that the ending for the brothers will be satisfying and peaceful to a degree without saying too much, of course. But for all your fans out there, how many tissues exactly should we have on hand prepared?
All of them.
All of them.
You better start buying them now because tissues aren't easy to find in this COVID world. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get a whole roll of toilet paper and keep it next to you. It's
yeah. I don't feel like there are going to be many people that are able to watch the finale in real time. And that I just say, I think there's going to be a lot of pausing to wipe the tears out of their eyes and then catching back up. And then I can't see, it just feels like I'm underwater. Yeah, it's a really emotional episode, just especially knowing with what's going on, with what the episode means. Again, not just what the scenes are about, but what the show means as a whole.
the camera operator. I'm going to totally throw him under the bus here. During one of the more emotional scenes, and this is a guy who has watched he and I on screen for 15 years. After one particular take, he actually had to take one of the lens wipes and soak up the tears that were in his eyepiece.
All right, so you guys have been on this 15-year-long journey. Now, if you could go back in time and give yourselves advice as young men before the show started, what would that be?
I guess I've thought about it. And kind of like, well, what advice do I want to give myself now that I wish somebody had told me, especially me? I think now, kind of going back to what you asked earlier about how I feel now, 8 days out from the last day of filming, to knowing how difficult it got sometimes. You know, anybody's life, no matter what you're doing as a profession or where you are in the world, in a span of 15 years, you're going to have some highs and you're going to have some lows, no matter what you do, no matter what you're going through. I certainly had both. And sometimes in those overstressed moments, the lows get pretty low. So I guess I would try and tell myself, you know, keep going. No feeling is final. And you'll be so proud of what you're a part of when it all comes to an end. So, you know, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, there's probably there's a laundry list of things that I probably wish I could tell myself, you know, in a variety of topics. But as far as the show goes, I would probably just tell myself, look, I know you might think it's funny, but when the cocktail sausages come out in the scene, don't grab them and just start eating them, because then they're going to make Dean eat all the time for the next 15 years. And that's on you. Yeah,
that is on you. And I guess I would have told myself, hey, start eating stuff in scenes. They'll make it part of your character. That was the irony, is they never let me eat. And I'm like, yeah. It's called cut. And I was like, can I have a couple burgers?
All right. So I got a fun question here for you guys. So if you lived in a supernatural world, would you want to know that the monsters are real?
Oh, yes. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now I know how to handle them.
Yeah. Pre-season 1,
No.
Jared Lucky? No, don't let me know.
Unless
No.
you had the number of somebody like a Winchester, then okay.
No, then fine.
Yeah. Oh, now it's like bring it on.
Yeah, I dare you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. I feel like my monster hunting skills have gotten rusty after 8 days. I'd like to polish them off and give it a go. See how I do.
Yeah. Hey, there she is.
Hello.
I see you opted for the gym teacher dean back there.
There's a little Sam back there too, so you don't feel left out, Jared.
All right, it's all right. I
Like
know
to
you
see.
like me. I love
It's
you
a
back.
little like figure.
What do you mean this little figure? It's
It's a
proportional.
little figurine.
Whoa! Whoa!
It's a
So
little
wait,
tiny
right?
figurine.
Slaughter.
Is Dean
Sorry.
towering over Sam back there? Is that what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
sorry.
Oh, I do see Sam. You're right.
Towering over Sam. Oh, he's so cute.
What else is there that you can tease that you're excited for fans to see in these final 7?
In these final 7, you got the nightgown.
Oh,
In the final 2, in the final 3 or 4, rather, really the build up to the series finale, we all get to see Sam and Dean more similar to the pilot than we have since the pilot.
Interesting. In what way?
I can't tell.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of little nods and little Easter eggs that are filtered in throughout the last couple of episodes that are attributed to episodes that were very early in the series.
In the way that we get to see a show about Sam and Dean, at least for a little bit. We get to see Sam and Dean being Sam and Dean, the way they began, to some degree.
Sam and Dean are going up against possibly the most powerful enemy they've ever faced in God. And they're definitely not strangers to loss. So what is the emotional toll like for these guys in the final episodes?
It's a roller coaster. I mean, these guys, they're motivated to fight. And then as the weight of what they're facing starts to set in and they realize that that this may be a lost cause, there's some I would say more of a dejected side of the Winchesters than we've seen in a long time. You know, fortunately, in true Winchester fashion, they somehow find a way to get motivated and to get back on that horse and to go fight the good fight. It's a ride, and it's, you know, when all hope is lost, that's when you call the Winchesters. I still feel like we're processing it, though. I still feel like it's still in that kind of like, you know, coming down from the ultimate high kind of thing.
And I guess that's why, for me, why it does feel so different is because, you know, we've been with these scripts, the last 2 scripts, since January or February. So for me, it was like, I'm looking across the cage from my opponent. Like, this is the script I got to tackle. I got to do the best job I possibly can. It was like work mode that we have been in for 15 plus years. And so now that it's done, and I know there are no reshoots because we can't go to Canada without sitting in an apartment for 2 weeks, and I'm not doing that again. So right now it's sort of like we finished a marathon, you know? So it went from train and eat right and go to sleep on time and make sure you're complex carbohydrates to like, all right, dude, like go get an ice bath, you know, put on some compression pants and, you know, go to cryotherapy. So right now it's kind of the healing process, but it's so different. You know, if you talked to me a week and a half ago, it was more like robotic laser mode. Like, I got to stay focused. I don't want to cry away all of Sam's tears. I don't want to laugh away all of Sam's laughs. And now it's like, well, I'm just Jared for a little bit. So let me laugh and cry and everything in between.
What were those final moments on set like, that final scene that you shot?
It was weighty. It was weighty because we knew it was coming, and we had a long time to see it on the horizon. And when it came and it was there, it was almost like, I don't know. I know I certainly broke character. I'll tell you that much.
We both did.
Were there tears involved after you?
I'm not. No, there's no crying in Supernatural. Come on.
Yeah, but again, for me, they were
It's
different.
not This Is Us.
no, you're right. She's right.
No, after they yelled cut.
No, we shotgun beers.
If there had been tears and crying, on my part, they were different tears and crying. It was just happy. It's like in 15 years, and with the amazing writing we have for Supernatural, where Sam played 100 different characters, I got to kind of explore so much of Jared within playing the guy named Sam Winchester. These 15 years, which have been the majority of my adult life, really encapsulated a lot of what I went through before this show and what I've been going through during this show. So I was just really happy. It was like, cool, count the fingers and toes, 10 fingers, 10 toes. All right, I'm a granddad, or whatever that situation. I guess like having a kid. It's like, oh my God, he's alive and my wife's alive, and all this, like, this is how you hypnobirth and this is how you breathe through it. And then all of a sudden it's done. And you're like, wait a second, now what do I do? Like now I have a living, breathing thing. Like, what do I do? So now I'm sort of like, what does Jared do? I know what Jared does when he's preparing for Sam, but now that Jared's just Jared, like, what do I do with my time?
I felt like if you could take like happiness and satisfaction and being proud and just wrapped it up in emotion, and then that's the pill that we swallowed that day.
Yeah, it was a good pill though. I would take it again if I get the chance.
It was. No, it was awesome.
God, yeah. That's good. That's how Austin's gonna be. Oh man.
Where are you guys right now?
It was like 75 degrees in Austin.
Oh really? I'm in Utah right now.
I'm in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Okay, so you're used to the heat and humidity, but what's it like now after the hurricane?
Yeah, well, I don't know, the hurricanes kind of have blown all the heat out, so it's a little humid, but it's actually, the weather's in the low 70s, so it's kind of nice.
How emotional this is for you, I can only imagine. Jensen, I think you posted something about at the end of each script page, it used to say to be continued, but this time it said the end. So how does it feel to be closing this chapter?
It's heavy. I mean, I still feel like the bell is just rung and they've just yelled that's a wrap, and we're still walking off stage. I mean, it's been a week now since we yelled wrap, but it still hasn't. I don't think it's set in, and I don't know that it's going to set in for a while. And Jared said it. He's like, I don't think it's going to really set in until we walk onto the set of some other show. But that's fine, because then we'll just turn around and call each other and be like, what's your show like? Well, what's your show like?
Yeah. To echo that, it still feels very present. We still had a lot of work to do after they called Wrap, just as far as, we had apartments that we had lived in essentially for 15 years. We had moved, but I think I was cleaning out my apartment during our 2-week quarantine and finding stuff from 2005, 2006, going like, oh my God, I didn't know I still had this. It's sort of a cathartic trip down memory lane. And then I've been on the road since then. So, we just finished last Thursday. It's been 8 days. And it still feels very present. It feels like, I have a couple days off. I'm going to have to fly back to Vancouver soon to get to work. Like, where's my script? I need to memorize my lines. I think as soon as we walk on set of a new show and realize people are not calling us Sam and Dean anymore, and it's not the same cameramen and women and, propsmen and women and sound and whatnot, then I'll be like, okay. Then I'll have a few tears, shoot Ackles a text, and get back to work, I suppose, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Hey, Jared, do you remember, did we drive up together for season 1?
Yeah, we carpooled. You were with me.
We carpooled up. Right.
Up 5, yeah.
So
we just carpooled.
We did. We had walkie-talkies.
Yeah, to let people know what the times were. Back in 05, Jensen had like walkie-talkies, like analog, like, come on, channel, blah, 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 blah. There were no...
Yeah, because iPhones didn't exist.
Yeah, I was sending smoke signals up to Ackles, like, slow down.
Right. That's right. We had a soup can with a string.
Yeah.
And it was... but funny enough, we just he and I just drove together all of our stuff back across the border. That's funny. So we drove up together for season 1, and we just drove away together season 15.
That's like a full circle moment right there. It's beautiful. It's sad, but beautiful. Hey, Jared, I think I saw you post on social about your birthday coming up and you wouldn't be able to celebrate with your Supernatural crew or something like that.
I actually turned 37 and 38 in season 15. So, and it was weird because for 14 seasons, we had been shooting Supernatural. So it was the first birthday since I was 21 or whatever, 22, to not be in the middle of filming. That was like the first episode or two. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine it being strange. You guys kind of have this blessing with the show, though. So many people have been quarantining for so long, productions have stopped, but you guys have been able to actually continue working on everything because you guys are basically shooting in the middle of nowhere, right?
We're in the middle of nowhere a lot. But we got sent home on March 13th to quarantine because we filmed in Vancouver, Canada. And so they were concerned that the border was going to get shut down. And so they're like, all right, guys, you got to get home to your families. They might put a kibosh on all work for the next month or two, and we don't want you guys stuck here, be miserable. So we flew home, and then it was sort of, they were doing all of their work, preparing what the new regulations were going to look like. People wearing masks, people wearing different lanyards, food being individually packaged, and just stuff that is just different. But our producers, and I know the studio and the network and the unions did a lot of work to make sure that no one really knew what it was going to look like. And we shot for 4 weeks basically, and didn't have anybody contract COVID. So it looked like it was working. So all the regulations and restrictions seemed to work.
Worked.
Yeah, that's amazing. Jensen, was it you who said you got the test done and it was basically poking your brain, or?
That was me. I think.
He did, but but it was the first. They'd since changed it to where it's not so invasive. But the first few tests were, they should call it's not a nasal swab. It should be called a brain swab.
Yeah, it like goes out the back of your scalp.
I know, brutal, but you guys did it, and now we finally get to see the show, so thank you for your sacrifice. I've always been curious because I know you had so much prep to do in advance, learning the legends and the folklore and all that jazz. So do you actually believe in the paranormal?
I don't not believe in the paranormal. I guess it's a big world out there, so I think I know enough to know that I don't know everything. I haven't had any personal specific experience where I'm like, yep, it's for real for sure. The aliens probed me. They told me that we're ruining the oceans and we need to hug each other. They sent COVID down. No, I haven't had anything. I've certainly had some weird things happen in my life. I like to believe there's an explanation for it. I'm a pretty rational guy. But I wouldn't be surprised if proof came out somehow, some way that we weren't the only ones.
Yeah, I think it just boils down to Jared and I have had 15 years of training to defeat whatever supernatural elements might be out there. So I guess if they do exist, they tend to stay away from us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're like, I don't want to get a roundhouse from these guys, so I'll just leave them alone.
Exactly. Leave
Um,
them alone.
So what's next for you guys? What projects are you working on right now?
Well, I'm headed to Austin right now, where I live, but also where I'll be doing my next project. It's called Walker, CBS Studios for CW Network. So I get to stay home at CW. Really excited about it. I'm involved in the production as well. So I get to star in it and help kind of keep it running. And we start shooting that in about a month. So hopefully that'll be hitting screens in January.
Yay! Isn't your wife going to be on it too?
She is, yeah. They were talking about it for a while, and I guess they finally came to go like, that's a great idea. And so she plays my now deceased wife, but we have flashbacks and whatnot. So she's gonna be around.
Wow, that's going to be so awesome. And Jensen, what about you?
I'm going to be playing the person that his deceased wife had the affair with prior to her. So it'll be a bit of a strange thing on. Oh, you have? Oh, I think it's episode 3. Yeah, it's coming down the pipe. Yeah. No, I'm going off to a show called The Boys, which is over on Amazon. They just released, I think, half of their second season, and so I will be joining them on season 3 for some crazy Eric Kripke-esque adventures.
Very crazy.
Can't wait. We'll be checking both out. It's so awesome. Thanks again, guys, for your time. Jensen, I'll say cheers, except with water for now.
That's fine.
Until I can get one of those beers from your brewery. And all of the fans are rooting for both of you. They love y'all.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Have a great day, guys.
You too.
You too, Chelsea.
Thanks. Well, all right, everyone. Watch the final season premiere of Supernatural at 7 tonight on the CW. And I bet you thought that was a wrap. But wait, there's more. One of the amazing CW producers sent me a generic interview she did with the guys, and I'm including some of their answers. See what they had to say.
I think what I'm most proud of accomplishing is being a part of something. My involvement in Supernatural, though I was in every episode, was never about me. And I know Jensen would say the same thing. It was never about him. It was about us and the larger us. And it brings me pride and happiness to have been, helping to helm that. But the fact that so many people got involved, so many that we had never met, and a lot that we will never meet, to make this show a success and to make the show last so long. So I was really proud to sacrifice every day for myself and for my fellow actors and actresses and for our crew and for the fandom. I I think Dean would tell Jared to cut his hair. I think
there's no place for that in the supernatural world.
Yeah.
I'd say Sam and Dean would probably tell Jensen and Jared that they needed to probably have a vast variety of weapons at their disposal, because the kids' toys and the Legos aren't going to cut it when something comes crashing through the window at night. Yeah, probably that.
Yeah, they'd be like, Jared, Jensen, yeah, you're getting soft. Get back in the gym. So, that being said, they'd probably also tell us, I think Sam and Dean would probably look us in the eyes and say, listen, guys, you're stronger than you think. Just keep working.
There's so many things to this show that I think people that resonate with a lot of different people. I think, whether it was just the genre aspect of it that drew them to it, whether people were just into horror movies and they wanted to watch a small horror movie each week, or whether it was the fact that they started to care about these brothers and they wanted to know more about their story and why they were doing what they were doing, or whether it was about the inspiration to fight and to keep fighting no matter what the odds. And I think that the inspiration that we were able to give people who watch the show manifested itself into giving us inspiration back, or in us receiving that inspiration to keep kind of doing what we were doing throughout the 15 years. And so I kind of feel like I hope the legacy is a number of things. One certainly being the relationship that the fans had with this particular story and the show and this cast of characters. I think was something that was truly unique to what we had in Supernatural compared to any other place.
I don't know what they're about.
Nope.
I'm not being coy.
The last 7 episodes. Well, that's episode
14 to 20.
14, which is the one that comes after 13. Then there's episode 15,
yes,
which is 5 before the end. Ooh. Then 16, we're getting closer. Now we've only got 4 left.
And 17 was right before 18, right?
That's right. That's right. Don't say too much. I don't want to give away too much. Yeah. But then there's 18, and 18 was really, there was like a lot that happened there because we're moving right into the 19th episode, which is the second to last, which means that 20's next, and boom, there you go. There's your season. There's your 15 years. Check, please.
What he said.
When I talk to like just different people on the podcast, like Jensen and Amel, they all go back to talking to you. They're like, I remember when Tom was doing this and they gave you advice. I'm like, Tom gave you advice?
Yeah, I talked to all those guys at one point or another, and because I was a little ahead of most of them season-wise and stuff. And they were like, just ask, how do you do this? How do you do this? And you know what? Good for them to ask. You know what I mean? Because I remember it was like season 2 or 3 of Supernatural, and Jensen and Jared are like, we need to go to dinner. We're taking you to dinner. We're paying for it. Let's go. So we go to dinner, and they're like, dude, we're working all these nights. How can we not work nights? I'm like, well, it's called Supernatural, and it happens at night. Like, yeah, but we don't have to shoot at night. I'm like, no, you guys don't get it. Like, you do have to shoot at night. And then they decided, well, we're going to separate each other. And they did a season where they both went in different directions, and the ratings went down because people wanted to see them together. And they were like, okay. And they've been very successful, and they figured it out. But early on, I think that, we're all, whether it's your first day on set or your 7th season, you're always trying to figure out, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do it better? I got a quick story for you. So you guys, some of the fans of Smallville might know a show called Supernatural. Jensen and Jared are buddies. And they lived not too far away from where I did in Vancouver for some time. And it was toward the end of the season. And I had some stuff that they borrowed at their house, but they were on set and I wrapped, so I went to go get it. And the code to the alarm to their house, I put it in, it didn't work. I put it in, but the 3rd time it didn't work, the alarm goes off. And we're in Canada, British Columbia, Vancouver. The alarm goes off. I mean, it's loud, and it's like a nice house. And I'm like, what? Well, all right, well, I got nuts. So I sit down on the steps, and within 3 minutes, cop cars are pulling in, like 4 cop cars. They're like, hey, get down. And I'm already sitting, and I'm like, it's okay, guys. My friend lives here. And they're like, yeah, we've heard that before. I'm like, no, my friend Jared and Jensen, like they live here. They're like, put your hands behind your back. They cuffed me. They put me against the wall, and I'm like, really? And the one guy has me against the wall, and he goes, by the way, I love your show, dude. Great show. And I'm like, awesome, thanks. I really appreciate that. And not 10 minutes later, Jared comes home from work, and he's like, no, that's my buddy. And they uncuffed me. I'm like, sorry. And then they all just left, and I was like, that was horrible. That was no fun.
I wonder, Tom, if you would. He's like, "Hey, I love your show," and you look back and go, "Really? You
I should.
think this is what I got to do if I'm on a hit show? I got to rob these guys."
Really? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Guys.